Can you feel that? Take a notice. Deep down inside, it's beating with your heartbeat. It's coursing through your veins. It's living in the very electrical signals that are running up and down your limbs, all through your body. It's an urge to move, to take action. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it lulls you into the sweetest embrace of relaxation. That sensation, that's life. In ancient Greece, they sometimes symbolized that passion, that energy moving through us as the leopard. And they would show this in their art through the baby Bacchus riding that leopard. I wonder how many of us these days have the courage to ride it, to really ride it, to embrace life, to embrace passion, to embrace that energy, to risk the leopard turning around and mauling us for the thrill of riding it all the way through into reality so that amazing things can be born in them. So let's talk about that today. Let's talk about riding the leopard as we celebrate the first quarter moon of the Via Creativa walking down creation. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie. I am a Christopagan druid and priest of Brigid.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm a Christopagan druid and sous chef to the Dogda.
Today, we're going to be talking about life. So hard not to start just parroting Prince's sermon from the beginning of Let's Go Crazy right now. I almost went right into it. If you don't, go check it out. It's on the Purple Rain album and everybody needs to know it. But I'm not the purple one and I'm not going to go there. But that song is actually a really good example of what we're going to be talking about today. It's about learning to ride our passions, about taking control and realizing that we are not really in control of them and how to steer them so that they don't turn around and bite us in the butt. Although it's a great way to get art done. But before we do, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, follow, whatever the terminology happens to be on whatever app you are listening to us on. We do 5 original Christopagan and Druid episodes Monday through Friday. And you don't want to miss a thing. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. All right, let's just get into it. So Brian, have you ridden any leopards recently?
Yeah, the other night when I was putting together dinner and realized I lacked a lot of the ingredients needed, I saw a passing leopard and I jumped on, and it was good. It was strange. I think we both agreed to tell me not to try to ever do it again, but it was a thing. I burned the creation, a tasty meal that had a lot of non-traditional flavors that weren't exactly in conflict. They weren't in conflict. My brain had a little bit of a conflict going on in the back of it.
It is something I do not regret and I never want to have happen again.
Yeah.
I feel like we have to start this episode with contrasting this with the leopard song that's out there, because leopards have really been associated with the leopards eating faces party and people who vote for the leopards eating faces party and then being surprised when the leopards eat faces. That is a wonderful, beautiful metaphor that is separate from the one that we're talking about today. So please take your Francesca Ramsey song and put it on the side and enjoy it later with another topic. That is not what we were talking about here. Though I will say it is relevant in one respect. If you do not do this right, the leopard will eat your face.
Which is actually when you first pitched this one for our discussion, that was the image I had, was like, oh, so we're going to learn how to ride the leopards rather than have them turn and eat our face. Or if it went badly, would they turn and eat our face anyhow? And yeah, I had a lot of those images. So I'm going to set her down over on the shelf over here. And
love you, Francesca. I've been a big fan for a long time, but we're not talking about that kind of leopard right now. In ancient Greece, the leopard was a symbol for that vitality that is in all of us. And I love the symbolism of the leopard because leopards, unlike lions, unlike tigers, unlike any of the prey species, leopards are loners. So our passions aren't like wolves. They don't generally come in packs, right? So wolves is not a good metaphor to use. Lions, again, hunt and pride's not a good metaphor to use. I think only a little bit knew what a tiger was because tigers aren't really common anywhere near them, though some may have been brought in for menageries and various hostile murder sports that they like to play, but they definitely knew what leopards were. So that is the analogy that they took. And it's a really good one because they're stealthy hunters. They're hunters that can lie in wait in the trees and the tall grasses. They are patient. They will stalk you and they will burst out of nowhere and just take control of the situation. I think all of that is a really good way of thinking about our creativity, our passions, this basic zeal for life that is flowing through us. Also, leopards are not domesticated. We do not have domesticated leopards. And I feel like I can say this with some certainty because I feel like the Egyptians would have if they could have. Because the
Yeah.
leopards, because the Egyptians did use cheetahs like we would use hunting dogs in Europe. So they were able to at least partially domesticate cheetahs or at least be able to utilize cheetahs for certain things.
On a side note, that's terrifying to think you're out there and the opposition unleashes a pack of cheetahs to pull you out of hiding.
I don't know. That might be worse than a war elephant.
Yeah, like that would be far more terrifying than a war elephant.
Because I feel like war elephant, I might be able to get out the way. But if, oh man, a bunch of cheetahs coming, oh, yeah,
Yeah, you're not getting.
game over. Game over.
I have reflexes faster than a cat, and I'm still gone. I don't think I would not put odds on in my favor.
I think we all know these urges that they're talking about here, these drives. And yes, some of them are unhealthy, which is why Bacchus is seen on the leopard's back. Remember, Bacchus is more than just the god of drunkenness and debauchery. He was both of those things because that is truly giving into your passions to their fullest, most hedonistic extent, right? But he is the god of this vitality of life, this passion of life, this zeal of life, the energy, the raw energy of being alive. Bacchus was often compared and contrasted to the more rational, cold Apollo. So anytime you're acting out of your emotions, out of your passion, that is Bacchus or Dionysus, who are essentially functionally equivalent. And anytime you are acting out of your rational mind, you're being more like Apollo. Now, the issue with this is we know that we are Dionysian. We're all little Dionysus. Whether we want to think that we're Apollo or not, whether we want to think that we are rational beings or not, we are all easily motivated by our passions, by our emotions, by those instincts that are within us. I do believe that we can control them, that we can rein them in, but they are the ones in charge. We make decisions and then rationalize them later. We very rarely actually rationalize ourselves into a decision. That's not usually or really how that works. We can fool ourselves into thinking that's how it works, but it's not.
Just look at the episode from earlier this week. The first thing you're going to have is that reaction, and it's learning to control yourself to get to a point where you can stop that and then make the choice and have an action. And that reaction is all from that emotion. It's all that point of little pocket.
Yeah, learning to ride the leopard, learning when and how to jump on that leopard's back so that it doesn't turn around and devour you and cause more harm. Now, this is a really interesting thing to do for meditation. This is a really good visualization practice to do, especially if you have the ability or the skill to let your imagination give more agency to the things that you are visualizing. This is a very good way to do that. If you practice shape shifting, and we haven't really done an episode on shape shifting yet, but this is a really good practice to do as a shape shifting practice where you go into your meditation and you become the leopard and then do your best to see the world from the leopard's point of view. It's a really good way to connect to this vitality, to this energy, to this raw instinct and urge, and start to see what it is in you and how to define it.
One of the visualizing practices that I like to do, I thought it'd be fun to share here because it ties into the story at the beginning that I shared with the whole dinner crisis from the other evening. When I have those moments, there's something big and scary comes along the path. I almost imagine myself, I'm walking at night, it's dark, I'm in some kind of rural environment, and I'm walking a path, and something big and scary just jumped out. That's that moment of crisis, like in the case of the story earlier when I was planning to fix a particular meal and I absolutely did not have some of the ingredients I needed. That's that big scary thing. It's jumped out. It's the monster. It's on the path and you're going to have your initial reaction of fear. And in the visualization, I imagine at that moment when the fear starts to hit, I get distracted because something suddenly bursts from the bushes or jumps down from the trees or from the grass or whatever the stuff out off in the shadow, and it's a leopard just bursts out and onto the scene. Depending how I want to run with the visualization, it either attacks the scary thing or it scares the scary thing off as it goes tearing across the path back into the wild brushes. And in that moment when the big scary thing is scared and distracted and the leopard's just trying to pass through, I leap on its back and grab a hold and ride it off into the darkness, off the path and into the wilds and into the darkness, and hold on because you can't control a leopard. I'm just riding it to a new place, a safe place that's away from the scary thing. And it's a fun visualization thing that I do. It actually helps in those moments. Like when I'm cooking, like earlier when I had that crisis moment, it helps me because it distracts from that initial emotional reaction. And then I can just grab it and allow whatever the inspiration is that hits and go off on some other path. I don't even have to be brave to go on the other path because all I have to do is hold on for dear life because the leopard's taking me wherever I go. And I just accept it. It is what it is. And so sometimes like that meal where it was good, it was enjoyable, I'll never do it again. It was a fun and wild ride. And yeah, I thought I'd just share that little example.
So I like that you brought up inspiration here because I think sometimes, not always, and in some people, rarely, when Awen presents itself, it does just basically hop onto the leopard and grab you. I know as a writer and a storyteller, there are times when I'm just like, nobody talk to me, pretend that I'm not here. I have to do this. And that's when Awen jumped on the leopard and was like, let's go. And just charged forward with all of that inspiration. And I have learned through trial and error that when those moments hit, all I can do is go along for the ride. I have to record everything as quickly as I can, as best as I can, because when that moment is done, when that moment is through, it's done. It's done, it's gone, and it probably won't come back. It's like a storm of creativity that hits. It is just there. It has captured all of my energy, all of my mind, all of my passions, everything have just gotten together and gone forth. We're lucky when that happens, or cursed, because I find that tends to happen when I'm in a group of people or when I'm in some situation where it's not exactly easy for me to go off to the side and have some alone time, because muses have a sense of humor after all, and it's wicked and I get mad at them, but it is a thing that happens. I've also discovered through a lot of trial and error that it is possible to lure the leopard out, but you have to understand what the leopard wants. This is where I think a lot of people get this part wrong because they assume, oh, big dumb animal is predator, leopard wants meat. And you see this in a lot of people who are able to only coax their vitality out, that are only able to coax their creativity out through anger, through rage, through literally throwing red meat to the wolves, right? They're coaxing that leopard out, that energy out by invoking this kind of anger and rage within themselves. And this is self-defeating for a couple of reasons. One, if we're just using rage bait to get ourselves up and going, which by the way, I've gotten to the point where I just block people on social media and YouTube that I see just rage baiting because I don't have time for you. You're not creative anyway. Just go away. That's just been my go-to for a while. But it's how does it self-defeating? One, say you do actually coax the leopard out. The leopard's not going to go anywhere. It's going to go over to the red meat and it's going to start chewing on it.
Yeah.
So the leopard, that energy is as vital and as useful to you as it was when it was running around in the weeds or in the trees, sleeping, stalking, whatever it was doing before. And it's going to get full, eat its fill, and then it's going to go and nap it off because it's a cat. I like a cat metaphor for this because when you use your energy, it needs to rest. Your energy is a cat. It's the best metaphor for it because it's going to go out. It's going to use its energy all up and then it's going to go sleep for 12 to 18 hours because it's cat.
especially creative energy.
Yeah.
Very much like a cat.
And so when we're not careful and we're just throwing that meat out to get it out, it's just going to show up. It's going to eat. Yeah, you might be able to get something from that, but then it's going to go away and it's going to sleep again. If you really want to coax the leopard out, you have to understand what the leopard likes to chase, what the leopard likes to run after. How does the leopard play? And this is where I'm going to say everybody's favorite line that repeats over and over in this podcast. This is the work you have to do yourself. This is the work I really can't help you with. I could tell you some of the things that help coax my leopard out, but that's mine. That's how my psychology works, how my energy systems work, how I tend to operate. That may or may not help you at all, and more than likely won't. There are certain bands that I like to listen to get my energy up, and Brian doesn't even agree with me on those are, because depending on the kind of energy I'm trying to get up, when I want to be really crudely angry, I listen to Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald, because having that much peace and beauty around me stirs up my leopard and gets my leopard out and about and on the prowl. That's not how Brian works. Brian's, oh, that's how you lull my leopard to sleep.
My leopard curls up and goes, nap time, and starts purring.
But that's where you have to learn this for yourself, right? To me, the more aggressive music, for example, I use music a lot for this, but for me, more aggressive music, I find calming and soothing because I can let myself get into it and have that cathartic experience that relaxes the energies within me and lulls them back into a restful state. So the faster the beat is, the more intense the music is, the more likely I am to just get out my energy and frustration and whatever in the music and not have it for any of the things that I want to do. That's me. I know a lot of people are on the opposite side of that. They want that amped up, faster paced music. And there are other people that music doesn't do anything for them. And for you, you need to figure out what that is for you. It might be affirmations. It might be certain slogans. It might be certain kinds of physical exercise. I know people that physical exercise is how they get themselves amped up, because this metaphor is the same metaphor as getting yourself amped up. You're trying to get all of the vital energies within you aligned and active so that they can go out in pursuit of something.
So they can birth the creativity. I know for myself, it's only been the last few years that I've really started exploring music more and learning how to channel various musics to help get my leopard chasing after it. Like my leopard definitely does chase after certain music, and it inspires and leads to different types of creative acts. I really had to learn, okay, this is good if I'm wanting this type of creative vibe. If I want this other kind of creative vibe, I need this or this. And yeah.
You've had to learn when you need to wake up and start looking for the broccoli.
Yes. Yeah. Cause that is definitely, cause Kendrick's definitely one of the ones that definitely gets my leopard likes to chase Kendrick for certain types of creative vibe. Very much. Some of that trashy, like, I guess call it 90s, 2000, that club scene music, like the bad trashy ones. Like I'm almost guilty to have that blasting in the car sometimes, but my leopard will chase after that in a heartbeat and will run hard for certain types of creativeness. So sometimes, like, if I'm in the kitchen and I need to channel certain creativity, I'll have on some trashy dance music, club music.
Okay, I need to stop you for a second. I need
Yeah.
to stop everyone for a second. Do you notice how Brian's energy just changed?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see how Brian's energy just changed?
Did
Now,
my leopard?
what, all I did was I said a version of the opening lines of Squabble Up,
Yep.
and all of a sudden, that leopard getting coaxed out, that energy rising, because I know this is one of Brian's energizing songs. A lot of times before we start recording, we'll put that song on so Brian can get amped up. And that's a song that also amps me up a bit too. But you just saw this practice in action. That's why I wanted to stop what we're saying right here so that people can take this in. If you missed it, go back to where I said the broccoli line, go back a little bit further so you can hear Brian before that and after that, because you can see this instant change in his demeanor, and you can see this crescendo as that energy is building up and going out. Because I know we've been together for 30 years, I know how to bait that leopard, right? And so
Yep.
that's what we're trying to get you to learn how to do for yourself.
It's so true because it's easy to look over and see the big sleeping cat and be like, oh, my creativity's sleeping right now. I guess this is an uncreative day. And that's not always true because, like you said, if there's something the leopard likes to chase, likes to play with, if you start to introduce that into the scene, its ears will perk up, it'll perk its head up. It may go into full like prowl mood, and then boom, it'll explode into full on action.
And there are going to be a lot of ways that you can do this. Some people are motivated by competition. So maybe if you're, say, you're a writer, start doing some co-writing with a friend and be like, okay, we're going to take 30 minutes. Let's see who can get the most words done. Make sure that other person is also motivated by that, because that's
Yeah.
something that does not motivate me. I start worrying about, am I writing fast enough? And I actually slow down because I'm worried too much about if I'm going to win the race or not. That's a distraction for someone like me. But I know a lot of people that really does get them motivated and get them out there and get them moving. This is why I said this is where you need to start doing that work. You may have heard me say sometimes you wake up and start looking for the broccoli, and that phrase went and meant nothing to you. Maybe you don't like that song. Maybe you've never heard that artist, right? Maybe you've never caught that lyric, right? That doesn't always work with people. And that's, by the way, not the lyric of the song. Please don't put in the comments that I quoted it wrong. I quoted it wrong on purpose. But by the way, that's another good trick for this. I quoted it wrong on purpose so that both mine and Brian's brain would be like, no, that's not how it goes, and actually play the entrance to the song and actually play the right words, because my brain instantly, when I said it, went, oh no, that's not right. This is right. And then now I've got the song playing in my head.
And the leopard suddenly perked up and started looking around. Wait, what? What?
Yeah. Where's the
It's time,
cat?
it's time to run.
Where is the broccoli? Yeah, that's a good idea. Where is it?
That's why in the visualization exercise that I did to help train myself to handle some of those crises moments, the leopard runs across the road. It runs back into the shadows. Like it startles everybody, but it's actually not chasing the situation. It's chasing something else. And it's intentionally left vague because I'm finding out when I hop on and ride. Because in those moments, I just need creativity. I need to move away from the situation I'm in, but I still need to be creative fast.
So I hope this has helped you out some. There's a lot in here to unpack, but unfortunately, a lot of it is going to really be from your own personal practice. And this might not be a metaphor that resonates with you. You might not like cats at all, and the idea of a cat doesn't help you. So, how would you summon together the wolf pack? How do you get the coyotes to start howling? What makes what helps you saddle and bridle up a horse to go riding? Do use an animal analogy. I know some people that have tried to use.
I'm laughing because I just made myself at first sad and then incredibly curious because I sat back and I went, "Oh, I hope your creative burst isn't one of those giant Saint Bernards with the little ale on the barrel of ale on the neck." And I got really sad at first because I was like, "That's such a lethargic thing." And then I got really creative, going, "But wait, they save people and." Even though they appear to be sluggish, they get the job done. And then I just ran down a little rabbit hole and had to pull myself back. So maybe yours is a St. Bernard. Congratulations. It's a foreign thought to me, but I'm curious and would like to know in the comments. Tell me all about it.
But I do recommend that you try to find an animal that works for you, because this is one of those places where a mechanical metaphor does not actually help us, because that gets you back over into your logical brain. If your metaphor is a motorcycle or a hot rod or a plane or a helicopter, when it's not working, you have to tinker with it and fix the engine. That's taking you back over to your logical, analytical side. And there's a time and place for that, but this is not that. We're talking about bringing in that vitality, bringing in that energy. And so it does need to be an animal of some sort. Now, having said that, it could be a dragon, a unicorn. It could be any kind of fantastical critter that your heart really resonates with.
It could even be the Looney Tunes Tasmanian Devil.
Yeah.
But still, could be.
Whatever works for you and actually gets this going. I had a friend back in high school whose motivation, he actually did it with me as a guided meditation once, because he was like, if I didn't meditate with Bugs Bunny, I don't know how I'd get anything done. I was like, what? He was like, here, look. And we did it. And he basically imagined himself in one of Bugs's tunnels as they're traveling around underground, going to places. And yes, sometimes you get lost, but generally you can find your way to the right place. And it was that kind of imagery that helped him because he didn't have to see what was going on underground, right? He was still, from the point of view of the cartoon, watching from the surface, the ground getting all messed up as the tunnel's going underground. And it was a very interesting experience. And that's definitely not one for me. That man in particular kind of lived by cartoon logic and it worked for him. And I have not talked to him for a very long time and I hope that he's doing well. But I've met all kinds of people, and whatever resonates best with you, that's what you need to use. I'll be honest, sometimes I use a phoenix. On days when I'm really hurting, I will actually do a meditation where I feel all of the pain spots in my body and imagine them as embers burning me to ash, and then do a visualization of that ash catching fire and the phoenix rising out of it. And sometimes that helps. Sometimes that gets me there. Sometimes the pain's just too much and I have to just realize today is not the day. But sometimes it does help. So it doesn't even have to be a real flesh and blood animal. Whatever works for you. This is the power of using metaphor. This is the real magic in metaphors and meditation that we can use to help us to get where we want and need to go. How does this resonate with you? Do you like the idea of a leopard? Do you have a different animal in mind? Have you ever tried this before? Are you thinking about trying it? Let us know in the comments. So if you're listening to us on YouTube, Spotify, Substack, or CreationsPaths.com, you can leave a comment right there and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can. If you're listening to us anywhere else, even if they say you can leave a comment, they don't notify us. So we won't know, but leave a message there anyway, because engagement is magic. And then head over to CreationsPaths.com, click onto the chat, and you can leave a message there and we will see it and be able to get back to you and have a conversation. While you're there, if you happen to have a few dollars you can pass our way, we offer monthly and annual memberships. You can also support us on Patreon and Ko-fi. I am C. Dorset on both. You can also support us using the Cash App hashtag CreationsPaths. Thank you to everybody who does that. It really does help us out a lot. It helps us to put food on the table, keep a roof over our heads, and to really just do everything that we're doing. If you don't have any money right now, or you're not sure we're the kinds of people that you want to give your hard-earned treasure to, that's perfectly all right. But if we've ever said or done anything that has helped you out or that you think would help out somebody else, please share it. That helps us out more. And as we are heading out today, we're going to live on the wild side. Oh, Dionysus, that impish little fire burning in all of us, that vitality that runs through all of our urges, making us desire to do things and act in this world. Help us to connect to that energy and to learn how to really tie ourselves into it so that we can be truly vital, living people in this world. Amen.
Amen.